Hi, I just did this and it sounded terrible. So I'm going to redo it. If you've seen the old one after I finish, I'm going to delete the old one. But Avi Yemini put up a video about the Jewish community and their problems and stuff. And I wanted to respond to it. And I just listened to the beginning of the video that I already did in response to it. And it sounded like really scratchy and stuff. So I had been using the built-in. So now I have the plug-in mic. So hopefully it's going to sound better. So, but basically what I wanted to say was he blames the leadership of the Jewish community, but I think that we're not asking for better leadership. So, it's a real problem that you have these people who are supposed to be our leaders who are totally cucking. And there's plenty of people who, who are around, who are, oops, no, that was just me, because I didn't know if I keep doing a live stream and people are actually watching and commenting, and I can't, I'm not responding because, anyway, so he put up a video where he was saying that the Jewish community is it to blame for many of our problems. And one of the things that I think he touched on, but I think he didn't really call out, is that the community could be pushing more for better leadership. Even just people, if people start talking to each other about politics and how we need, what we should care about, eventually if it could spread from the actual people, from the community up to the leadership. Even though generally things spread in the opposite direction. But I think if people started talking about this stuff and really tried to light a fire under people around them, eventually, people might make offhand comments to rabbis and stuff, and we could try to get this. One of the concerns that I saw is, people think that the left doesn't really have their grips on the Jewish community, but this isn't true. Pretty scary. I watched a lot of live streams. Anybody who watches my channel knows that, but you may not be somebody who's regular to my YouTube channel, and you maybe end up watching this video because I may post it, or someone else may post it in a YouTube group for Jews or something to that nature. But anyway, one of the things I do is I watch a lot of live streams, and then I kind of digest what I'm seeing on all the live streams, and I digest it into videos, is one of the things that I do. On some of the live streams that I've been watching, the thing that concerns me is that on the Washington DC, there were two videos in Washington DC, but same woman, the March for Our Lives, or March for Our Lives. They call it March for Our Lives. We call it March for Our Lives. The gun grabber march that recently took place in Washington DC, with little satellite marches around the country. That David Hogg with his communist fists in the air. On an interview with the Washington DC one, there was a woman who looked like an Orthodox Jew. Now, why is that a problem? It's really, really seriously a problem because this took place on a Saturday in broad daylight, so it was definitely the Sabbath, which means that this woman felt that the time that is supposed to be separate for spending with your family and spending with your kids, your husband, your parents, your friends, or taking a nap, the time that was supposed to be devoted to those sorts of things, she spent going out marching against our rights. She was holding a sign too. I'm not sure if there's normally you can't carry stuff on the Sabbath. There's a thing called an Erev that could have permitted her. I don't think they have one in Washington, D.C. proper. I don't know. That would be interesting if anybody knows if there's an Erev. Let me know. If you're not commenting on the actual video, if you're commenting on Facebook, make sure you tag me if I'm taggable. So, also, I was watching another interview from LA, the satellite march in LA. Jesse Lee Peterson, a black conservative, he went to that and got triggered at the leftists. And one of the reasons why I could never go to these marches is because I would get really triggered, and I don't like to get too, I like to speak my mind and be firm, but I try not to sound like a crazy person or sound triggered because, Anyway, so he was in LA, and on one of his videos, it's on the YouTube. If you want to look for the video, or maybe I'll find it and link it in the description. It's on the channel called The Fallen State. And on that video, I'm watching the video, and all of a sudden I see an Orthodox Jewish woman. I mean, a woman that looks Orthodox Jewish. Married Jewish women cover their hair, and there's a particular kind of way that they cover their hair. But the thing is, both of these women had a little bit hair poking out. So they weren't because I thought, well, what if they're maybe cancer survivors or something? But both of these women had a little bit of hair poking out. The one in the Washington version that actually interviewed, the other one was just a real blip on the screen. But the one from LA. But the one from the Washington version that was holding up a sign, and she actually was interviewed on camera, which also might be a problem for the Sabbath, but I'm not really sure because she wasn't really holding the camera or anything. But she definitely looked Jewish. In fact, she actually looks familiar. I think that I may have gone to her for a Shabbos meal or something, or met her in some way. I would not, if I found out she lived in my area, I would not be surprised at all if I found out that I actually had met this woman before. She looks like everybody in our neighborhood. Pretty much everybody, because I live somewhere where women tend to cover their hair with a, unless it's a fancy occasion, they don't wear wigs that often. They usually, in the grocery store, most women just have their hair covered with a hair covering. What do you call it? We call it a shmata or a techel. I forget what they call it in English. A hair scarf, I guess would be the way that you'd call it in English. But and also they tend to tie it around their ponytail in the back. So, but I think, when we have people thinking that they can break Shabbos, potentially be breaking Shabbos, I'm pretty sure that the one in DC was basically breaking Shabbos to go to this protest against the Second Amendment. Simply because, and I understand why they justify it. They justify it because you're allowed to save a life on Shabbos. But that means, if you're a doctor and someone collapses in front of you, you're allowed to save their life. That doesn't mean, I'm not a rabbi, but I'm pretty sure rabbis would agree with me. That doesn't mean you're allowed to go and march at a protest against, the American Second Amendment. And by the way, Hitler took the guns from the Jews before he put them in the camps. Just saying. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. Hitler took the guns before he put them in the camps. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by my channel. I will see you all next time.